We're back. It's another edition of a newly named, thanks to Joe Gerberry, as we call him, Gerbs, the owner of WFNY. We are the WFNY CavsCast. Nothing, it's kind of original, kind of unique, nothing special, but instead of a podcast, it's a CavsCast, so it's better than Cavs Weekly Podcast, I guess. I'm your host, Josh Bloha. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, and this podcast, as usual, is brought to you by the Evergreen Podcast Network. And once again, like every other week, I'm joined by Seth Wanamaker in a very dark room because this conversation is going to be very dark since we're talking about the recent Cavaliers that, oh man, I don't even want to talk about the recent Cavaliers. I just want to look ahead. But yeah, we're back. It's another week, another Cavs podcast. CavsCast, my bad, CavsCast. Seth, how are you? How are things? How is being a Cleveland sports fan right now? What do you want to tell me?
Yeah, you hit it. I turned the lights off. It's a little dark. It's a little gloomy. Halfway through the conversation, I'll throw the lights on. We'll see the light by the end of this conversation. But man, it's been 9 days since our last pod. I'm excited to get on here with you, and I know we're going to hit it hard tonight. But man, there's a couple of games left in the season, and there are a lot of scenarios we have to talk about. So I'm excited, ready to get it going. But yeah, the plays sucked.
So to compare this to the Guardians opening day today, because I have to, I guess. When the Guardians went down 3-1, all I can think was negative thoughts. Because it's just the Guardians offense, or lack thereof, even though they had some bad luck today. You said so many different scenarios. With the recent Cavaliers, all I can think are negative thoughts. So I guess I know it's hard to be negative about this whole year, but looking at like what used to be, what could have been, and what is now, it's like, as a Cavs fan, and I know you feel the same way, I know 99.9% of Cavs fans feel the same way, it will always be like a what if. What if Ricky Rubio stayed healthy? What if Jarrett Allen stayed healthy? What if Evan Mobley stayed healthy? What if Darius Garland? I mean, you could literally name like 10 different key role players or stars on this team that what if they stayed healthy? What could this season have become? I mean, I know when we first started this, maybe, you know what? I don't want to say that we're like bad luck for this podcast, but we started this podcast, and I think the Cavs were projected to be the number 1 seed in the East. They had like a 98% chance of making the playoffs, not just the play in the playoffs. And now here we are. We are guaranteed to make a play-in spot, not the playoffs. I don't know. I guess do your usual weekly recap. I guess it would be 9-day recap, which included a lot of losses. But yeah, just do your recap, and then let's try to be as positive as possible and just talk about the next 4 days of regular season, and then the play-in, which is going to be one heck of a time.
Yeah, definitely want to focus our energy there tonight because there's so much to kind of break down, and it is unfathomable to think about where they were at in February, the 2nd seed in the East, tied for the most wins, I believe, with Chicago at the time. Both Chicago and Cleveland obviously have stumbled since then. And, the one thing I've seen going around like Twitter and Discord to a degree is like people are very eager to jump on anyone that's disappointed with the season. They've proved so much. It's been an incredible year. No doubt they have. The one comment I would say to that, however, is like, things happen every year in the NBA. So to just like wave a wand and think next year everything is going to be perfect with injuries, with players, with chemistry, et cetera, you can't really say that, I don't think. So I'm not taking it lightly at all. Like, of course, there's so much positivity for the next year and years ahead, but I'm definitely not shaming anyone that's saying like, I'm kind of bummed because like, things aren't perfect every single year. So I'm right there. I think it's a bit of a bummer where they were at versus where they are now. Of course, I'm disappointed specifically in that Magic game, but they still have some exciting opportunity here in the next couple of days and with some guys coming back. So just really quick in terms of the recap, we're not going to dig into all the games. They went 1-4 the last 5. It's been brutal. And I would argue the worst loss of the season came a couple of nights ago in Orlando, 115 to 120.
You don't even have to argue that is the worst loss of the season. Injuries or not, but keep going. we're just gonna throw away that tape after Seth's done talking about the Orlando game. It will never be brought up again. I promise.
And the worst part, they've lost to some bad teams this year, but the implications of that game were so critical. And I think that's really where our conversation goes. If they were to win that game, it puts them in such a better spot. Now they really don't control their own destiny to make the top six. Top six is really out at this point, and now it's all about where they're going to seed in 7 through 10.
And they are out of this. I think it's Clint. I think Toronto, if you can like clinch the top 6 seed.
Yep.
I think Toronto clinched with that Orlando loss. So yeah, it's playing or nothing. I'm surprised it hasn't been made into a t-shirt yet.
Yeah, playing or nothing. And the last thing I'll say about kind of the past, and then I think we transition pretty smoothly to what's coming up. Since Evan Mobley's been out with the sprained ankle, I think they're 1-4. Since Jarrett Allen's been out, Cavs are 6-10. Ever since what I would argue may be their best win of the season against the Denver Nuggets in that overtime victory where Lowry had a bonkers game, they've just had a brutal stretch of basketball. Of course, Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen are such difference makers in terms of the defense. Teams are just scoring at will in the paint right now, and that's to be expected. Two of the probably top 10 or 15 rim protectors in the league are out. You're going to attack the Cavs where they're weak, and the Cavs don't have the individual defenders to stop people from getting in the paint. So, it's a bad recipe right now, but I think, Josh, we have some good updates in terms of injuries, right?
Yeah, first, I'd say that the Cavs are without 2 of the top 5 rim protectors in the league. If you're talking about pure rim protector, Jarrett Allen's probably, I'm trying to think. Jarrett Allen's probably top 2, him and Rudy Gobert. And then Evan Mobley, I mean, I'd put him top 7 at the very, very least. It just, those 2 players allowed the struggles in other areas of the defense not to hurt as much. But now when you're without them, it's very, very obvious. People say, I guess, well, I don't want to talk about the last few games or whatever, but the Cavs have struggled a lot recently. We know that. Part of it's due to injuries. Part of it is due to effort. But I think a big reason is that they're just worn out. I mean, Lamar Stevens, you can say he's a professional athlete. He should be ready. He should be the next man up, whatever. Guys like Lamar Stevens weren't predicting themselves just play like 25, 30 minutes a night late in the season. So I think injuries obviously play a big part, but with those injuries, I think this team is just worn out. And I mean, it's easy to say effort. As long as these guys give effort, I don't care if they lose or not. But like, it's hard to give effort when you are so tired, if that makes sense.
Yeah, they've got newcomer Moses Brown, all of a sudden playing like 30 minutes a night. They don't have depth pieces. Dean Wade's out. To your point, Stevens is playing a bunch of minutes. And yeah, there's no doubt in my mind, like who they have left in terms of just straight up bodies. Guys are getting taxed, getting tired. They snuck in that game that was rescheduled with Atlanta earlier on the season. I mean,
NBA, thanks for that. Thanks for the NBA.
What bullshit timing that was. Sorry.
No, you're allowed to say bullshit because it was literally bull. I think that was their 3rd game in 4 nights, I think it would have been. And then when the game should have been played, the Cavs were fully healthy. Well, without Ricky Rubio. And I think that's it. But then you play Atlanta again, which is obviously, we'll talk about this. That game had major implications on the standings in the play-in tournament. And you're without literally Mobley and Allen. And it's just like, I know like Cleveland against the world is like a saying here, and I know it's on t-shirts and everything, but like sometimes it does just feel like it's like Cleveland against everyone else. Because it seems like we can't catch a break as sports fans and as our favorite teams that we root for. Like if it could go against Cleveland, it's going to go against Cleveland.
I mean, the one example, and I swear this is the last thing I'm going to say about the last 5 games because they've annoyed me. The L2 report from the NBA with the 76ers game. I mean,
oh my gosh.
You got to be freaking kidding me.
Yeah, so Sixers game. I forget the first. Darius Garland goes up for a layup. It gets blocked. Okay, my bad. Eric Rhodes blocked. I forget by who. Maybe it was Embiid. I don't know. We all saw it in replay. It was a foul. It should have been these Darius Garland 2 shots. Instead, Sixers come down, get a bucket. And then the last play, James Harden, by the way, I think he is my least favorite player in the NBA. I think that's been confirmed. Whether it's watching him or just like the type of player he is, I really want to get the Sixers in the playoffs just to beat them in the 7-game series. But I think I'll have to gouge my eyes out and slam my head against the door if I have to watch James Harden and bet every other night for like a week to a week and a half. Because his game now, he used to be, I mean, he might still be considered one of the best players in the NBA, but it is literally just like dribble, step back three, go to the hoop, hope for a foul. That's his game. But yeah, going back to the 2-minute report. So both of the wrong calls went against the Cavs, just like usual, because they can never catch a break. And the Cavs lose. I mean, I think it was like a 5-point game, but it really was closer than that. And if they get those 2 foul calls, they win that game, which is obviously would have been a huge win. And then JB Bickerstaff goes off on the referees, deservedly so, after the game. The last 2-minute report comes out the next morning. And then after the 2-minute report comes out, JB gets fined for saying the truth about the referees. I don't understand that. What's JB supposed to do? You literally gave out a 2-minute report that said that JB Bickerstaff was right, and then you fine him for saying the right thing.
Yeah, I tweeted, and we all knew it was going to happen. As soon as we saw those JB quotes, or if we were watching post game, you knew he was going to get fined. And so right away I tweeted, "Hey Dan, put some extra money in JB's pocket," because he has to say something. I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, I know every fan base feels this way, but the home whistle has just not been there this year. So maybe this is the year they build up some of that respect. So next year they're on an even playing field. But again, I know every fan base feels that way. It's kind of corny to say, but give us just a fair whistle. I'm not saying
I don't think
fair whistle.
Every fan base might feel that way, but it's just because they want to whine about it. We have a reason to whine. I mean, shoot, we might get freaking Atlanta in the play-in too. And Trae Young gets all the all-star whistles. Where's Darius Garland's our all-star whistle? I hate being so negative, but like the whistles late in the game, the home whistles, like you said, the Cavs don't get any home whistles. That game against Philly a few days ago, that was in Cleveland. Both the wrong calls late in the game that changed the outcome of the game went against Cleveland. I mean, it's that in that last 2-minute report, James Harden clearly fouled Lowry. How are you not? You literally know James Harden is going to get the ball in that situation. So how is one of the 3 referees not watching James Harden? That's what I don't understand.
And it wasn't just like a simple push off. I mean, he like hugged him first and then threw him off him. But Lowry's just like a strong guy, so he didn't react probably as floppy as Harden would have on the inverse. But yeah, just is what it is. No excuse. Lost to Orlando the next game after. But yeah, we need that fair whistle next year.
Yeah. All right. So enough recap. Let's look ahead. And I actually will feature this comment with. If they make the play-in, Adam Sterney, he always chimes in here. If they make the play-in, will Mobley, Allen, and Brown all be on a play-in tournament roster? Moses Brown, he is playoff eligible, correct? Or is that a late addition to the roster? I think he's playoff eligible.
No, I believe he is playoff eligible. Yep.
They got him right before the deadline. They must have. So assuming Mobley and Allen are healthy, which we will talk about that here in a few minutes, all 3 of those would be playoff eligible. And honestly, we won't talk about next season yet, because that can be like literally a 5-hour podcast during the off season, right when the off season starts. But that is a solid front court along with Kevin Love and Lowry. Those 5 is a really solid front court looking ahead to next season.
Yeah. We love Ed Davis. Like, we've loved him all year, what he does rebounding the ball, but the Cavs, they need a significant backup center. Jarrett Allen cannot be the only team's true big bodied center on the team. So yeah, 100% agree. If he continues to develop, he's done some flashes. Moses Brown has throughout this year. Seems like a hard worker. So yeah, 100% on board. I think after this year, he would have a qualifying offer. So the Cavs have complete what they want with him if they'd want to sign him in for next year. I think it's like 1.6. Yeah, I'm on Spotrac. It's 1.6 qualifying offer next year. So yeah, completely agree with you.
Give it to me and give him an off season to learn from Jarrett Allen too. I'm all for that, honestly. But we'll talk about that later on. All right. So first things first, let's talk about the NBA standings because those are obviously the most crucial.
Woo, getting tight.
Wow. Here we are. The Cavs. So they have a play-in spot locked. They cannot make the playoffs. They're in the play-in. They're either seed 7 or seed 10. Somehow a seed 10 is still possible somehow. Right now they are a game up on Brooklyn, a game up on Atlanta, and 2.5 up on Charlotte. Charlotte plays. Wait, they have to be playing tonight,
Charlotte's
right?
playing Orlando.
Oh yeah, they're up 20. Okay, so let's just count that as a win. They're 2 games up on Charlotte. Charlotte plays tonight, Saturday, Sunday. Atlanta plays tomorrow and Sunday. Mm-hmm. And then obviously the Cavs play Brooklyn tomorrow night, and then the Cavs and Brooklyn both play Sunday as well. So everyone plays Sunday in that group of 4. I mean, tomorrow night's game, 7:30. It's going to be appointment television. It's at Brooklyn. It's at Brooklyn. If the Cavs win that game, they have a 9 or a 7 or 8 seed locked up, which obviously is huge because looking ahead at the play-in. So I think we talked about this the last few weeks, but now that it's like really a thing, we should remind you. The play-in tournament, 7 versus 8 play each other. The winner of that is the 7 seed. The loser of that plays the winner of the 9 versus 10. The winner of that game is the 8 seed. And looking at the play-in schedule, which is obviously important as well. So the 7 versus 8 game, obviously the 7 seed's home. The loser, so that game is Tuesday night. I'm assuming since the other game is West Coast on Tuesday night, that'll be like a 7, start between 7 and 8. My guess is 7:30, 8 o'clock. So then say that game is against Brooklyn. I will count that as a loss. If the Cavs somehow end up at the 7 seed, I will say it's a miracle at this point, to be honest with you. I'll chalk that one up as a loss. The good news is that game would be Tuesday. If the Cavs lose, they don't play again until Friday when they would get the winner of that 9-10 seed. And the 9-10 seed plays Wednesday. So the 7-8 seed, not only would that team be the home team on that Friday night game, but they'd also get 1 extra day as rest, which is, I mean, home court advantage is huge, but that extra day's rest, especially with how we know this injury plagued Cavs team is, that's why getting the 7 or 8 seed is like literally the most important thing. You only have to win 1 of 2 games. You get the home game and you get an extra day's rest. You have to get a 7 or 8 seed at this point.
Yeah, the Cavaliers dropped to the 9 or 10 seed. I think it would be somewhat improbable for them to jump out and win both of those games.
Start looking at the mock drafts.
Who's the number 13 or 14 best overall player, because that pick does not convey to the Pacers, and the Cavs get another selection. So, in one really interesting thing that is going to come up, we'll see what happens tomorrow night, see how much Mobley's able to play. The Cavaliers end their season, and anyone that's in the Cleveland area, if you get a chance to go to the last game of the season at home, it's awesome. If you haven't been to a game before, it's a fan appreciation day. I think Sunday afternoon game this year against the Bucks. They give away all sorts of stuff. It's a really fun environment, atmosphere. But Cavaliers play the Bucks, and there's some question on if the Bucks have a solidified seed, are they going to play their guys or not? So that could be an opportunity for the Cavs to kind of sneak in a win if the Bucks aren't playing any of their main guys. So if they're sitting Giannis, Drew, and Middleton amongst others, maybe that's a good opportunity. Yeah,
I know this podcast obviously gets worldwide. So Bucks ownership, if you're listening, just sit all you guys.
Be smart. You want to win a championship, right? Be smart.
Exactly.
Sit some of those guys.
Yeah. And by the way, so I didn't mean to interrupt. The standings are crazy because not only is the play-in seed crazy, but Miami has the 1 seed. Boston is currently 2 games back, but they are down 10 to Milwaukee right now at half. Milwaukee 2.5 games back. Philly 2.5 games back. Not only is that 2 through 4 seeds a half game to separate those 3 teams, but if you're thinking that Brooklyn is going to win the first play-in game and be the 7 seed, there's no way you want to be the 2 seed and to get Brooklyn in a 7-game series to open the playoffs. So like they not only want to lock up a seed, but I don't think any of those 3 teams want the 2 seed, which means that they'd want to lose. Because if you win, obviously you're going to go up the standings. So Sunday could be very interesting. I know a lot of the teams, the NBA did it. By the way, the Cavs play at 3:30. I know it's been to be determined for a while. That released it a few days ago. The Cavs play at 3:30 with Milwaukee against Milwaukee at home. All of the other games that have playoff implications with Milwaukee are also 3:30 tips because the NBA is smart and won't give another team an advantage if they already know that a team won or lost, which is very. I mean, I guess you could scoreboard watch during the game, but that would make no sense. So yeah, the last 3 days, I guess tonight and the last 3 days of the NBA is just regular season. It's just going to be fascinating because the Cavs and Brooklyn, the play-in teams want to win, but those 2, 3, 4 seeds might want to lose.
It's so fascinating because the race for 2, 3, 4 is all between really half a game right now. I think the Bucks and Philly are tied for second, and I believe
tied for third.
I apologize. And Boston's a half game ahead, and so obviously the Boston Milwaukee game right now is going to have
exactly. So now Milwaukee's up 10.5. So now they'll just flip flop. So then Milwaukee will be a half game up. But then if you're half game up Milwaukee, you don't want to. I'm telling you. I mean, NBA teams are obviously going to say, no, we're going to win every game we can possibly win. You don't want to be that 2 seed and have to go up against Brooklyn. You do not want that to happen.
I think Brooklyn, I'll have to go look back at my favorite sports app, betting app. I think they're going to be favored to come out of the East. So you're right. No team in the top wants any part of the Brooklyn Nets.
And just like a full thing, if you bet, please bet responsibly. If you're in Ohio, you obviously can't bet legally yet because there are so many things. We can have an hour-long tangent about that, but we won't talk about that. But yeah, bet responsibly, please. And even if you don't bet, odds are always fun. I bet responsibly sometimes, I'll be honest. But even when I'm not betting, I still go on just to see hey, are the Cavs favored tonight? How much are they favored by? But it just tells you a lot, even if you're not a bettor. But back to what you were saying.
Yeah, no, it's to your point. It's fun to just see where Vegas has on that, and I take it back. Brooklyn has the second best odds as of now to come out of the East. So the Bucks are plus 235. The Brooklyn Nets are plus 320. So they're right there.
Miami, the number 1 seed for literally what seems like all season, and they're 2 games up and to get no love in the
fifth best odds behind Boston and behind the Sixers.
Behind Boston too?
Behind Boston and Philadelphia. Plus 420.
The number 1 seed. They're like the new age Atlanta Hawks. They're like the Atlanta Hawks were always the 1 seed, and then LeBron and the Cavs would come to town and they get swept.
The Hawks won 61 games. That's cute. 4-0. See ya.
But back to so we were talking about the standings. The Cavs, like we said, Cavs have Brooklyn tomorrow night. It's not a must win, but things are much better if they win. But winning in Brooklyn, obviously, Brooklyn knows. It's not like Brooklyn's trying to lose. Brooklyn has the same idea as the Cavs. They're going to try hell to win too. So it's not going to be easy. But with that, I guess now is the time to talk injuries. It seems as though Evan Mobley is going to be back. He's going to be a game time decision. They're going to see how he does pregame. The Cavs know, like I just said, the Cavs know how important this game is. You need Evan Mobley. Evan Mobley knows that the Cavs need Evan Mobley. I think unless something major happens during pregame, he's playing. I'm assuming it wouldn't be on a minutes restriction. The Cavs know how big of a game this is, like I said. So he will most likely be back. Jarrett Allen, I think the latest report, I forget who reported it, so that he would be back before the regular season's over. Well, hey, the regular season literally ends in 72 hours? Yeah, 72 hours. So it's not like there's a week or two. If he's not back Friday, I'm assuming he's back Sunday. I don't know. It would just be such a huge boost to this team, both confidence-wise and just on-court wise. If one, Evan Mobley's back, and two, if they get the pair back and get Jarrett Allen too, count me in, baby.
Yeah, it feels like the momentum that's been on the side of Mobley's return in terms of just reporting that we've seen from various outlets and individuals has not quite been there with Jarrett Allen. Like, there's been some good momentum for Mobley to come back. Like you said, sounds like he's questionable tomorrow night, but he's likely to play. Allen, it's been a little bit hit and miss. And we got some reports, I think a week or two ago, Shams said that, the goal is for Allen to come back at the end of the regular season. But to your point, time's ticking and we're not getting those same reports that we are with Mobley. So I think that's one of the really interesting things as I think about not only the next 2 games, but also how a Cavs fan should think about the play-in tournament and what that potential first round pick is, because I think it's one thing if you have Evan. It's a whole other ball game to me if you have Jarrett Allen, right? If you have both of those guys plus Garland and your full complement of wings, then I think, whoa, you got a shot to really beat anyone in the East. Sans maybe a Brooklyn or Milwaukee's tough, but it all comes down to me about Allen and Mobley coming back. Then that the ceiling kind of goes from here to here for me for what could happen.
Not only that, but I think the Cavs' confidence goes from here to here for what can happen. They know how they've been playing recently. I mean, we can talk about it. They know it. Just getting Evan Mobley back is huge, but getting both of them back, I hope tomorrow at about 5:30 I get a tweet notification from Roj saying that Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen are back. That'll be one heck of a way to start the weekend.
I couldn't imagine those two just walking out, or maybe it even happens in the Milwaukee game, the final game of the season. Those guys just walk out. They're ready to rock and roll. Because I'll tell you what, even if, and I think we're going to get into this, the 7 and 8 seed are so critical. Cavaliers really need to get one of those positions because you only have to win 1 game versus 2. The schedule is way better. There's a lot of reasons why, more rest. But I will say, if they find themselves dropping to 9 or 10, if Mobley and Allen are back, even 85, 90%, I actually don't feel that bad about their chances if they're both back.
But that dropping to the 9 or 10 probably means that Brooklyn beats Atlanta in the 7-8. So the Cavs would have to beat Charlotte and then would have to go to Atlanta and beat Trae Young with a home whistle. I don't know. I don't want to watch that.
No. And that's, they really need to try to secure that 7-8. So like we said, Milwaukee,
tomorrow night,
those guys. Yeah. And tomorrow night. Yeah.
Worst case scenario, Milwaukee, just rest your dudes, please. Please. Just rest at least Giannis and Chris Middleton. Actually, I guess if you rest Giannis, it's either like all 3 or none of the 3. It's either going to be Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, and Giannis Antetokounmpo all sit, or they all play. Man, I don't want it to come down to losing tomorrow night and then a game against a fully stacked Milwaukee team that could very well be a must-win if you want to get the 7 or 8 seed. I don't know. It's crazy how far the season has fallen, and it can all be literally due to injuries. That's what sucks the most. I know that's how I start off the podcast. It's like, what if? It's a bunch of what ifs, and I hate what ifs.
And like we've been talking for months about the ease of the schedule and how the Cavs had one of the easiest. Doesn't feel like it. It feels like all those teams that were struggling that may have been putting some data into that bad schedule, feels like they got really hot or something, because I haven't felt much softness in this schedule the past 2 months.
True that. And by the way, so speaking of the play-in tournament, I know I said that 7-8 play Tuesday, 9-10 play Wednesday. The winner of those games, or the loser of the 7-8 and the winner of the 9-10 play Friday night. Keep in mind, so say the Cavs are 7 or 8, they lose the first game, so they would host that game Friday night. That is also the Cleveland Guardians home opener in downtown Cleveland on Good Friday. So that'd be one heck of a way to start off Easter weekend, to have the Guardians and the Cavs both at home. That's what I want. I don't really care about Wednesday. If I just want to get the 7 or 8 seed, and I'm solely focused on Friday. I know I even told Seth before the podcast, if they get the 7 or 8 seed and they get Brooklyn, which I'm assuming they would in the first round of that play-in, sit everyone. I'm all for sitting everyone and just throwing that game.
And like we know, like no team is gonna do that. That's not what the Cavs would do. But
do it. Well, besides Brooklyn on Sunday or Milwaukee on Sunday, but go on.
yeah, but based on like their ceiling with how important the players are that are like banged up right now, crazier things have been done. I don't hate that idea at all.
Bring up Taco Fall, have it be. Oh, do you know what? Taco Fall on Taco Tuesday. See, it's all coming together right now.
And Friday will be Guardians, Cavaliers. Fish Fridays are banging right now, so it's all coming together for that Friday night. That's going to be a good one.
Wow. Yes, please.
I did too. The Cavaliers listed some play-in tickets, so you can kind of pre-purchase play-in tickets right now. They offer game 1, game 2, but there's too many scenarios right now to understand when they're going to play. So I think there's some refund process. But yeah, it was fun to get that email and kind of see, hey, there's going to be hopefully a home play-in game.
I'm trying to think, because if there is, I guess it would have to be a game 1 could potentially be no, it can't. I'm trying to think. Sorry, I'm thinking out loud. Oh no, if they're the 8 seed, then I wonder how they would do that, because game 1, if they're the 7 seed, game 1 is Tuesday. If they're the 8 seed, game 1 could be Friday. So I wonder if game 1 means no matter what, Tuesday or bust. Like if it's not Tuesday, you get a refund, or if you just take the chance and the game 1 could be Friday.
Yeah, I think I took it as the former. I think they might do a refund or carry over or something in the next season. But yeah, it was exciting to get that email.
Oh, nice! A team that actually treats their ticket holders right. Man, it must be nice in Cleveland. That's all I'll say about that.
As a Brownies season ticket holder, sorry to go Brownies for a second. I haven't gotten my ticket, or I'm sorry, I haven't gotten my present this year. So I'm waiting, Browns. I'm coming for you if I don't get something soon.
Yeah, well, the Browns are also they treat their ticket holders correctly. I was talking about the third professional sports team in Cleveland, but we won't discuss any of that.
Nope.
Back to, so we discussed the play-in, we discussed the standings. Jarrett Allen may be coming back. I'm assuming he is. I don't know why they keep saying he'll be back by the end of the regular season, because the regular season literally ends in less than 72 hours. Evan Mobley, game time decision tomorrow night at Brooklyn. I just hope it's a Friday night. Just like either go out to a sports bar or just order some food in. 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. Turn on Bally Sports. Turn on your Bally Sports app. However you turn on your Reddit stream, if that's legal to say or not. However you watch the Cavs, just like watch them tomorrow night and just hope for the best. It would be awesome to beat Kyrie and Kevin Durant and secure a 7. Because I'm trying to think, if they win tomorrow night, they're no matter what a 7 or 8 seed, right? I don't think. Although I guess if Atlanta and Charlotte both win out, they could still be the 9 seed. I think. If they would lose all tiebreakers, correct?
I think if the Cavaliers win one game, they overtake Charlotte no matter what, even if Charlotte wins out. I believe the Cavs go 1-1. Even if Charlotte wins their next 2, Cavs are still in good shape, because that would only gain 1 game of ground on them. But I think
Charlotte has 3 games left, though. So they would technically, they would gain a game and a half. Yeah,
game and a half. Yeah.
You're right.
But I'll give a free ad here. Grab your Angelo's Pizza from Lakewood, settle in, and the Cavaliers have kind of been like weird Nets killers. Like we all remember that game where Colin Sexton went off.
You better knock on wood right now. That's the problem. I know where you're going with this. That's the problem, though. We don't have Colin. Well, we have Colin Sexton on the sidelines, but not on the court.
Very good point. But yeah, I think maybe DG takes like the Batman and takes over, and that would be sweet. But to your point, like not expecting it, the Nets are going to be like plus 400 for that. I'm sorry, minus 400 for that game. It's all, if they land 7-8, it's all about that matchup with who comes out of 9-10.
By the way, for those non-betting types, so say they're minus 400 would probably put them at like a 8 or 9 point favorite. But if you're betting the money line minus, if it's ever minus, that is everything centered around we're doing like a how-to for dummies betting. And that would be a cool name of a podcast, by the way, during the off season.
There's some education we can do on this podcast.
We could. So everything is based around $100. If it's minus, that is how much money you have to bet to win $100. If it's plus, that is how much money you win if you bet $100. So if say the Nets are minus 400 tomorrow night, that would mean that you would literally have to bet $400 to win 100 if the Nets win, which is it's one of those bets that unless you parlay it, you are not going to do that bet.
Yeah, and I believe there's been some talks about in some articles about this beautiful like sports betting area that the Cavs are going to add on to Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. So we got to do some education here. That'll be fun.
Hallelujah!
It's
I
about
cannot
time.
wait. About freaking time.
Yeah.
I'm actually looking up my action app right now. The ad should be out for tomorrow night. The Cavs are currently plus 6.5, so they're projected to lose by 6.5 points, which I thought it would have been more than that. But maybe they're thinking that. Well, I think we can all count Evan Mobley in. I know we've already discussed that. Maybe Jarrett Allen. I don't know. I just hope that Darius goes off for like 40 points and 15 assists tomorrow night.
Hell of a time for an Osman or Love just bonanza game. Hell of a time for it tomorrow night. And Josh, as I look at, we've got a couple mailbag questions for the pod.
Already. Do you know? But I'm gonna interrupt you. Yeah. We are 36 minutes in and already starting the mailbag part of. I cannot talk part of the podcast. I really like it because I do not want to talk for an hour tonight. So I like this. I like this. I like it.
Yeah, and next week, like we're gonna be so immersed in the play-in, we're gonna have fun stuff to talk about. This one's tough. This one's a tough go if we're talking play. So yeah, I think next week's gonna be a little bit more upbeat. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Depends on
it could be an off-season podcast next week. Hopefully that's the worst case scenario, but it could be.
We got a lot of content for that. We'll be ready to go over here at WFNY. We have a couple of mailbag questions. They're both in the vein of the plan, so it's perfect timing to hit on a couple of these here. So, Josh, the first one I have for you, consider the core three of Garland, Mobley, and Allen. So those three who graced the cover of many magazines this year. Considering the core of those three, how many of those three do you think need to play close to 100% for the Cavs to have a legitimate good shot to come out of the play-in and make the final 8 or the playoffs? So how many of those three do you think need to play to roughly 100% of what they're capable of to feel good about the Cavs making the playoffs?
If they're the 7 or 8 seed, I will take DG and Evan, assuming Evan Mobley's back tomorrow night, obviously. I will take them two back. And I would take home because if they're the 7 or 8 seed, I think I've already said this. I'm already chalking up if they play Brooklyn that first round. I'm already chalking that up as a L, big L. I will take a home game against Charlotte or Atlanta though, even without Jarrett Allen. Obviously, Jarrett Allen, it would be a huge bonus if they have him. But I would be less confident. But I would still take the Cavs at home in a playoff game. Well, in a play-in game with everyone besides Jarrett Allen. I guess that makes sense. If they're the 9 or 10 seed, you need all three to win 2 games. It's as simple as that, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on the all three. If they're 9 or 10, they need all three, no doubt about it to me. And the first piece, if they just have Darius and Mobley, to me, I almost feel like it's a coin flip. I think they're going to have a tough time, obviously, with Brooklyn, and then I'm assuming Atlanta comes out just because we know who the best player on the court is of an Atlanta versus Charlotte game. It's Trae Young by a lot. So assuming the Hawks would come out of that, I think it's about a coin flip. If it's only Darius and Mobley, obviously Darius, Mobley, and Allen, I love the Cavs' chances in that matchup. So yeah, I think and this kind of blends in with the second mailbag question. So I'll stop talking right now and just throw that out there because I think where I was answering was going right to that question. There's a lot of unknowns. There's so many scenarios right now. And I think this is a great question. Based on where the Cavaliers are at right now, a game up on both the Hawks and Nets, 2.5 up against Charlotte before Charlotte wins. It'll be 2 games here in a couple of minutes. What do you think is the most probable path for where the Cavs will end up and who they'll play in the play-in?
I've already answered the first part just because I hope somehow they're the 7 or 8 seed. I will take an L on Tuesday against hopefully Brooklyn. I'm assuming it would be Brooklyn. I do not want Brooklyn. Worst case scenario here might be Brooklyn falling to the 9 or 10 seed. Honestly, I will take 7 or 8 seed, losing to Brooklyn Tuesday. What was the second part of that question? Who would I rather have, Atlanta or Charlotte?
Who do you think they'll play?
Atlanta. I don't see they had the playoff experience. Charlotte, just like the Cavs, super young. I would take Atlanta. Actually, do you know what? I would take the home team. Whoever is the home team in that 9-10 game. Right now, Atlanta, I think, is Charlotte is winning, so Atlanta will be a game up. So obviously Atlanta, the ball is in Atlanta's court. I'll take the home. I'll say this. Whoever the home team is, I will take them to win that 9-10 game.
Got it. Yep. And the Atlanta Hawks have a potentially tough matchup against the Heat tomorrow night. So that's going to be another huge. They're all huge right now. That's going to be a really big game. And I believe the Hawks have a softer opponent the following night. They play the Rockets, the last game of the season. So it's really probably going to come down to that Heat game for the Atlanta Hawks.
And somehow the Rockets play worse defense than the Cavs do without Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley. That's how bad they are defensively.
I've been seeing all these all these like verified big basketball accounts talking about the Rockets and how bright the future is because Kevin Porter Jr. is having great games. I'm like, just wait, just wait. What are those defensive efficiency rankings going on? You got to play two sides of the court. I'm loving. It's just hilarious to me. They have such a bright future. Come on, be real.
Jalen Green, all right, he's really good. He's a rookie. Christian Wood, I guess. Kevin Porter Jr., I guess. That's just, I wouldn't say a great future. I'd say a decent future just because of Jalen Green being a rookie and doing what he does already. But yeah, a great future is a very interesting use of words.
They have like a little bit of like a Sacramento Kings scent to me. Like I'm a little weary of
oh God, that is not a comparison you want to be.
That's not good.
Yeah, that's not good. Unless you're talking about the Vlade Divac, Mike Bibby, Doug Christie, Peja Stojakovic kids. But if you're talking about them now, that's not a good comparison for them.
Not good. Trading their best player for Sabonis. I mean, that move is going to absolutely haunt them. I've been killing them ever since they traded Halliburton for Sabonis. I'm gonna keep so good. What are
you doing? What are you doing? You're literally clearly rebuilding and you trade Halliburton.
The guy who you have control over for multiple years, who's an absolute stud, efficient as all get out. But okay, whatever you want to do, that's fine.
De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis, I guess that's the core you want to build around. Good luck.
Good luck. That's exactly right. I'll give a quick answer to the mailbag. I am in the same exact boat as you are. I feel probably a little bit stronger about the Atlanta Hawks. I think the Hawks win the game against Charlotte, whether they're home or away, likely. But I have a feeling that if I had to put money on it or if I had to guess, I think Milwaukee sits their starters the last game of the season.
Yes.
Cavs win that game. Cavs sneak into the 8 seed because Brooklyn will win out. Cavs lose first, call it round of the play-in, but then Cavs are sitting there waiting for the winner of Atlanta-Charlotte. I think it's going to be Atlanta with a healthy Jarrett Allen, with a healthy Evan Mobley. Cavs take them out and then play the Heat 1 versus 8 seed. Bring on the Heat. I want them. I want that 8 seed.
So you're telling me there's a chance.
If we're playing the Heat.
I'm just, while you were talking, I was thinking if the Cavs lose to Brooklyn and beat Milwaukee, they don't lock up the 8 seed though. Because if Atlanta wins out, I think Atlanta only has 2 games left. I don't know. You said the Rockets are one of them, right? It's Miami at Miami at Houston.
I don't know about the ad. I'll have to check that out.
I think they're both away. But so if Atlanta wins out, to keep in mind the Cavs of the 4 teams in the play-in, the Cavs don't own a single tiebreaker. So if the Cavs go 1-1, that still doesn't lock up an 8 seed. Or even a 7 seed for him. So it's
a good point.
That's why, like,
it's a great point.
No, my bad. If they lose tomorrow night and then beat Milwaukee, it doesn't lock up a 7 or 8 seed. If they win tomorrow night,
and it does.
It doesn't matter. Sunday doesn't matter.
Yep, exactly. Yep. So they really, I think the Cavs, at least the way that I'm perceiving the next few games, they're really rooting for Miami to beat the Hawks. At least I am, just based on how I think things could fall.
Yes.
There's so many
Absolutely.
scenarios, man. I'm getting a little bit of a headache thinking through all these scenarios, but it's fun.
It's fun, I guess. I just can't believe we're at this point where we're trying to figure out how to not be the 9 or 10 seed. It's bonkers to me.
Can I ask you one more question? This is not mailbag. It's just I'm just going to throw it out there because I'm just thinking about it. Similar to the question we talked about with the core three of Mobley, Garland, and Allen. Say only one of those three players can play in the playoffs. Say it's Darius Garland because he's the healthiest of those three. Is it worthwhile for you, Josh, for only one of those three to get real playoff experience, to get beat, get swept? Or would you prefer just to get that 13th or 14th overall pick at that point if if Mobley and Allen aren't getting that experience? Do you prefer the 14 or do you just want the guys to get that playoff series and it is what it is type of thing?
That's actually a really good question. You can't replicate playoff experience. So the only way you can get playoff experience is by literally being in the playoffs. But like if you're without Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley, along with all the other freaking injuries the Cavs have had, is it really playoff experience? Because you're going to get swept and the games probably aren't going to be that close. At least game 1 could be close, but games 2, 3, and 4 are not going to be close.
And your defense is so different. That's where I come down. You're not playing the same defense you would.
Give me the first round pick, please. But I know with like these Jose Ramirez, I'm gonna somehow bring in the Gardens. People always said like that where there's smoke, there's fire. That was always like a thing with rumors. All these different reports are saying that Jarrett Allen will be back in this regular season. There's too much smoke for he has to be back by Tuesday. I don't think there's any way he's not. Whether he probably won't be 100%, a broken middle finger, even though it's a non-shooting hand for a big guy that literally protects the rim and dunks all the time, probably isn't ideal to have a broken middle finger. But I'll take like a 80% Jarrett Allen and then bring in Moses Brown for 10, 12 minutes. That sounds so much better than what they're going through right now. But yeah, to answer your question, if they're without Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley, that's not going to happen. I'll knock on wood right now. But if they're without those two, I would much rather just lose the play-in and then get the first round pick.
Yeah, hopefully that's just a wild hypothetical, but I think some people would really cling on to they need playoff experience, they need it. I 100% agree. We've talked about it for months how important that playoff experience is, but if you're playing totally different defenses, coverage, this is such a matchup-based league. I don't know how much stock I could put in versus guys in the mid-tier, like guys 10 through 14, there's been some guys the last couple years. So the Cavs sure could use a shooter. So I'm right there with you. I think maybe I'm being a little too thinking long-term, but I would love that pick versus I don't think a playoff matchup, like the last 2-3 weeks have been playoff matchups. The atmospheres have been ridiculous. So I think some of that just with how critical these games have been.
True. So yeah, you can say the non-Mobley Allen lineup has gotten playoff experience the last 2 weeks. That's a good point. So they don't need it. They don't need that in the playoffs. Believe me, that would be an ugly series.
Yes.
And before we go forward, I know we talked about this last week. It's easy to be negative now, but it is important to take a step back, relax, like Aaron Rodgers said, RELEX. RELAX. I don't know how to spell relax right now. And just look at the big picture. The worst case scenario, I know I said this last week, and I think I tweeted it out too. The worst case scenario right now is the Cavs make the play-in, lose, don't make the playoffs, and keep their first round pick. That was literally the best case scenario for the Cavs season 5 months ago. So I know the what if stink and like the downfall of this second half of the season with the injuries has stunk a lot. We all know that. But it's also important to just take a step back and look at the big picture and realize that the worst case scenario right now would have been the best case scenario for this Cavs season 5 months ago.
I'm so excited to do a postseason pod with you because thinking
I
about
can't wait.
all the oh man, we're gonna be talking Rubio. We're gonna be talking
Cavs off-season pods. I don't want to wish away the season, but I'm very much looking forward to them.
Oh man, Colin Sexton, Karras. I cannot wait.
We can literally go weekly during the offseason and still have plenty to talk about. That's how awesome it's going to be, to be honest.
There's going to be like 2 hours, guests galore. This offseason is going to be fun. It's going to be a lot.
By the way, and speaking of guests, I know right now it's only been Seth and I. Wait, it's only been me and Seth. Man, I am struggling grammar-wise tonight. It's Thursday night, I guess. But we already have one guest lined up. We probably already have 2 guests lined up. The second one is a former WFNYer. He used to be on Twitter, Sportsnam. He's no longer on Twitter because Twitter sucks and is super toxic. Let's be honest. He will be on with us. I'll give you the other one, Evan. I don't know how to pronounce it. Damerel with Locked On Cavs. I never know how to pronounce his name.
Yep.
Damerel, I think. Evan Damerel. Those two already. Yes, we'll have guests. It'll be like, how like the Browns offseason was always their Super Bowl, but now like the Browns are kind of legit. It's not really the Super Bowl anymore. This Cavs offseason, given what's happened this season, what could potentially happen next season, I mean, this offseason is not only going to be super important, but very, very, very fun.
The transition from building team to more win now moves, I am very, very excited to see how that reverberates the front office, the coaching staff, the players, like at every level. The whole dynamic of the organization has changed. So, man, I know we're far away from that, but
hopefully we are very far away from the off season. Hopefully.
Yep.
But just think I'll leave it with this. Say this roster that the Cavs currently have is healthy. Think of how deep they are. And then you're probably still going to add a free agent or two. And there are just so endless possibilities. Because literally Lamar Stevens has been playing really well the last month. If this team was fully healthy, he'd be like the 12th or 13th man. Think about that. It's crazy how deep this team is. And I mean, maybe we'll look back in a year from now and say, maybe this current season was a blessing because guys like Lamar Stevens and Jetty Osman and Moses Brown played bigger roles, got the experience, and now they're the 11th, 12th, and 13th guys off the bench, and you're not really taking a step back.
Yeah, the Dean Wade. I mean, the minutes these guys played in important games.
Oh, I forgot about Craig Lindell's. I'm sorry, Craig, if you're tuning in or if you plan to listen to this podcast. I did not mean to forget about the legend, Dean Wade.
Yeah, that's a huge mistake, and Josh is going to hammer you on that later, I'm sure. But yeah, it's huge couple games coming up. So many different scenarios. I know Josh and I are scoreboard watching right now, and yeah, man, that's whenever, we'll say when the season is over in June, which goes through the finals, whenever that is, if it's June, it's June. We'll have some great podcast shows, guests, all that stuff. It's going to be a fun summer.
It will. Yeah, I can't wait to have guests. I mean, I love talking just to us, but having a guest on too, especially a guest that actually covers either the NBA or the Cavs for like a full-time job, which would be awesome. We're not even part-timers. I'm just to make up a word here. We're hobbyers because this is literally a hobby for us. So yeah, I can't, whether it's next week, hopefully it's not next week, but whether it's next week or a month from now, I'll just say a month from now. There's no way the Cavs are going past 2 rounds of the playoffs. Let's be honest. I love this Cavs season right now. I don't want to wish it away, but this offseason is going to be tremendous. Both Cavs podcast, Cavs cast podcast wise, and just as a Cavs fan.
Yep, 100%. And that Friday where the Guardians have the home opener, hopefully the Cavaliers are hosting a home playoff game. I'm definitely going to try to get downtown for that, man. That's going to be a ton of fun. I don't even know if I'm going to go to a game, but just to be in the atmosphere, that's going to be a sweet night downtown. I hope it's good weather and see a bunch of people out.
True. Yeah, I think though, especially if it's nice weather, I think there'll be a bunch of people out because I know a lot of people will also have that Friday off work just because it's Good Friday. And I will most likely, if you're listening to this podcast, hit one of us up on Twitter or something. I will most likely be downtown. Seth will probably be downtown. If you want to buy us a drink, if you want to, whatever. I know we're famous podcasters, obviously. So,
couple Miller Lights, great tasting, less filling. That sounds good to me. So hit me up.
Man, you're throwing out Angela's Pizza, Miller Lite. But it is maybe time. Another important thing this offseason is to find a sponsor for this podcast. Absolutely.
I'm back charging them both for that. I'm sending invoices tomorrow. I'm going to get with my people, and we're sending, invoices, and 10% if they don't pay within 30 days. We're cooking.
True. Absolutely. But yeah, is there any other final thoughts, since we're almost somehow going out a freaking hour again?
We were doing good at like the 30-minute mark, and then we really kind of killed it.
You started the mailbag at 36 minutes, and somehow we've gone 20 more.
Last wrap up, just to your point, enjoying the season. It's really fun how many different scenarios there are right now, and I think just hopefully Cavaliers get some guys back and they can make a hell of a run at the next couple games, the play-in, and then hopefully the playoffs. Still the number one goal is the playoffs for me. I want it with the healthy guys. If they can't get healthy, we'll see what happens. That's all I have, man. I'm excited to see tomorrow night. Hopefully Mobley comes back and ready to roll. Let's go from there.
Hopefully Mobley. I think Mobley, if they're saying Mobley's a game time decision and it'll depend on how he does pregame, there's no way that kid doesn't play. Let's be honest. And he's going to be fresh. Hopefully he's going to be like near at least 90% Mobley. I'll go with the underdog. Obviously I'm a Cleveland sports fan. We love being underdogs, but like just, oh man, I can, like 24 hours from now, we could be potentially celebrating a win. It literally takes all the pressure off of Sunday. If they win tomorrow night, the only difference Sunday makes is if they are home or on the road for the 7-8 game, which I honestly don't really care because they'll be home for the Friday night game, which would be, like you said, that'll be one heck of a night downtown. Give it to me. I'm all for that. I know last week or 2 weeks ago we said that could potentially happen, but now that the play-in schedule's out, it will happen. If the Cavs are the 7 or 8 seed, they'll host, and they lose that Tuesday game, they'll host the game Friday along with the season opener. Give that to me. I'm already looking forward to it 8 days from now.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, I don't really have any other final thoughts. I just hope the Cavs get as healthy as possible. Somehow find a way. And that's been I know I said, I think a month or two ago when all these injuries started happening, that should be the Cavs hashtag. Hashtag find a way. Just find a way to win tomorrow night. Imagine like Sunday would literally be pure fun because the team knows that they get a home play-in game, at least one, at the very, very least. So just win tomorrow night, and that takes so much pressure off this young team. Seriously. But yeah, hashtag find a way, as always. I guess that's it. If you tune in to us live, we appreciate it. I know a couple of you put in comments. We appreciate you. Always tune in live if you're listening to us on anywhere you listen to your podcast. We appreciate that as well. Every single listen, every single download helps us out. We appreciate the love always. And go Cavs. I won't even say just go Cavs. I'll say go Cavs beat Brooklyn because of how important tomorrow night is. Hopefully talk to you guys next week, and it's about the play-in and it's not about the offseason. We'll see you guys next week, though.
Go 1-1.